Okay, so chapter 11, number 50. Sanjaya Uvaka iti Arjunam Vasudevas takhoktva svakam rupam darsayamasa bhuya asa asvasayamasa ka vitam inam bhutva punam sanya vapur mahatma. Sanya said to Dris, Dristar, Dharasta, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, while speaking thus to Arjuna, displayed his real four-armed form, and at last he showed him his two-armed form, thus encouraging the fearful Arjuna. When Krishna appeared as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki, he first of all appeared as four-armed Narayana, but when he was requested by his parents, he transformed himself into an ordinary child in appearance. Similarly, Krishna knew that Arjuna was not interested in seeing a four-armed form of Krishna, but since he asked to see this four-handed form, he also showed him this form again and then showed himself in his two-handed form. The word Samavappu is very significant. Samavappu is a very beautiful form. It is known as the most beautiful form. When he was present, everyone was attracted simply by Krishna's form. And because Krishna is director of the universe, he just banished the fear of Arjuna, his devotee, and showed him again his beautiful form of Krishna. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated that only a person whose eyes are smeared with the ointment of love can see the beautiful form of Sri Krishna. Arjuna Yuvaka, Dristvedam, Manasam Rupam, Tava Samyam, Yanadana, Idanam Asmi Satvrata, Sasita Prektrum Gata. When Arjuna thus saw Krishna in his original form, he said, "Seeing this human-like form, so very beautiful, my mind is now pacified, and I am restored to my original nature." Here the words Manasam Rupam clearly indicate that the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be originally two-handed. Those who deride Krishna to be an ordinary person are shown here to be ignorant of his divine nature. If Krishna is like an ordinary human being, then how is it possible for him to show the universal form and again to show the four-handed Narayana form? So it is very clearly stated in the Gita that one who thinks that Krishna is an ordinary person and misguides the reader by claiming it is the impersonal Brahman within Krishna speaking is doing the greatest injustice. Krishna has actually shown his universal form in his four-handed Vishnu form. So how can he be an ordinary human being? A pure devotee is not confused by misguiding commentaries on the Bhagavad Gita because he knows what is what. The original verses of Bhagavad Gita are as clear as the sun. They do not require lamplight from foolish commentators. Text 52. Sri Bhagavan Uvaka. Sudardarsam idam rupam dristavan asiyan mama deva api asa rupasa nityam darsana kansina. The blessed Lord said, "My dear Arjuna, the form which you are now seeing is very difficult to behold. Even the demigods are ever seeking the opportunity to see this form which is so dear." In the 48th verse of this chapter, Lord Krishna concluded revealing his universal form and informed Arjuna that this form is not possible to be seen by so many activities, sacrifices, etc. Now, here the word Sudardarsam is used, indicating that Krishna's two-handed form is still more confidential. One may be able to see the universal form of Krishna by adding a little tinge of devotional service to various activities like penance, Vedic study, and philosophical speculation, etc. It may be possible, but without a tinge of bhakti, one cannot see. That has already been explained. Still, beyond the universal form, the form of Krishna as a two-handed man is still more difficult to see, even for demigods like Brahma and Lord Shiva. They desire to see him, and we have evidences in the Srimad Bhagavatam that when he was supposed to be in the womb of his mother, Devaki, all the demigods from heaven came to see the marvel of Krishna. They even waited to see him. A foolish person may deride him, but that is an ordinary person. Krishna is actually desired to be seen by demigods like Brahma and Shiva in his two-armed form. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is also confirmed that he is not visible to the foolish persons who deride him. Krishna's body, as confirmed by the Brahma Samhita and confirmed by himself in the Gita, is completely spiritual and full of bliss and eternality. His body is never like a material body. But for some who make a study of Krishna by reading the Gita or similar Vedic scriptures, Krishna is a problem. For one, using a material process. Krishna is considered to be a great historical personality and very learned philosopher, but he isn't an ordinary man. But some think that even though he is so powerful, he had to accept a material body. Ultimately, they think that the absolute truth is impersonal. Therefore, they think that from his impersonal feature, he assumed a personal feature attached to material nature. This is a materialistic calculation of the Supreme Lord. Another calculation is speculative. Those who are in search of knowledge also speculate on Krishna and consider him to be less important than the universal form of the Supreme. Thus, some think that the universal form of Krishna, which was manifested to Arjuna, is more important than his personal form. According to them, the personal form of the Supreme is something imaginary. They believe that in the ultimate issue, the absolute truth is not a person. But the transcendental process is described in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, to hear about Krishna from authorities. That is the actual Vedic process, and those who are actually in the Vedic line hear about Krishna from authority, and by repeated hearing about him, Krishna becomes dear. As we have several times discussed, Krishna is covered by his yoga maya potency. He is not to be seen or revealed to anyone and everyone. Only by one to whom he reveals himself can he be seen. This is confirmed in Vedic literature. For one who is a surrendered soul, the absolute truth can actually be understood. The transcendentalist, by continuous Krishna consciousness and by devotional service to Krishna, can have his spiritual eyes open and can see Krishna by revelation. Such a revelation is not possible even for the demigods. Therefore, it is difficult even for the demigods to understand Krishna. And the advanced demigods are always in hope of seeing Krishna in his two-handed form. The conclusion is that although to see the universal form of Krishna is very, very difficult and not possible for anyone and everyone, it is still more difficult to understand his personal form as Sayam Masundara. Text 53. Nadham Vedar na tapasa, na dan ina, na seyaya, sakya ivam vido drastum, dristavan asiman yata. The form which you are seeing with your transcendental eyes cannot be understood simply by studying the Vedas, nor by undergoing serious penances, nor by charity, nor by worship. It is not by these means that one can see me as I am. Krishna first appeared before his parents Devaki and Vasudeva in a four-handed form. Then he transformed himself into the two-handed form. This mystery is very difficult to understand for those who are atheists or who are devoid of devotional service. For scholars who have simply studied Vedic literature by way of speculation or out of mere academic interest, Krishna is not easy to understand. nor is he to be understood by persons who officially go to the temple to offer worship. They make their visit, but they cannot understand Krishna as he is. Krishna can be understood only through the path of devotional service, as explained by Krishna himself in the next verse, text 54. Bhaktya tu anayaha sakya, aham ivan vido rujuna, jnatam drastum ka tatvena, pravstum ka parantapa. My dear Arjuna, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am, standing before you, and can thus be seen directly. Only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. Krishna can be understood only by the process of undivided devotional service. He explicitly explains this in this verse, so unauthorized commentators who try to understand the Gita by speculative process will know that they are simply wasting their time. No one can understand Krishna or how he came from parents in a four-handed form and at once changed himself into a two-handed form. It is clearly stated here that no one can see him. Those who, however, are very experienced students of Vedic literature can learn about him from the Vedic literature in so many ways. There are so many rules and regulations, and if one at all wants to understand Krishna, he must follow the regulative principles described in the authoritative literature. One can perform penance in accordance with these principles. As far as charity is concerned, it is plain that charity should be given to the devotees of Krishna who are engaged in his devotional service to spread the Krishna philosophy or Krishna consciousness throughout the world. Krishna consciousness is a benediction to humanity. Lord Katyana was appreciated by Rupa Goswami as the most munificent man of charity because love of Krishna, which is very difficult to achieve, was distributed freely by him. And if one worships as prescribed in the temples in India, there is always some statue, usually of Vishnu or Krishna. That is a chance to progress. For the beginners in devotional service to the Lord, temple worship is very essential. And this is confirmed in the Vedic literature. One who has unflinching devotion for the Supreme Lord and is directed by the spiritual master can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead by revelation. For one who does not take personal training under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, it is impossible to even begin to understand Krishna. The word "to" is specifically used here to indicate that no other process can be used, can be recommended, or can be successful in understanding Krishna. The personal forms of Krishna, the two-handed form and the four-handed, are completely different from the temporary universal form shown to Arjuna. The four-handed form is Narayana. The two-handed form is Krishna. They are eternal and transcendental, whereas the universal form exhibited to Arjuna is temporary. The very word Sudurdarsam, meaning difficult to see, suggests that no one saw that universal form. It also suggests that amongst the devotees, there was no necessity of showing it. That form was exhibited by Krishna at the request of Arjuna, because in the future, when one represents himself as an incarnation of God, people can ask to see his universal form. Krishna changes from the universal form to the four-handed form of Narayana, and then to his own natural form of two hands. This indicates that the four-handed forms and other forms mentioned in Vedic literature are all emanations of the original two-handed Krishna. He is the origin of all emanations. Krishna is distinct even from these forms, not to speak of the impersonal conception. As far as the four-handed forms of Krishna are concerned, it is stated clearly that even the most identical four-handed form of Krishna, which is known as Mahavishnu, who is lying on the cosmic ocean and from whose breathing so many innumerable universes are passing out and entering, is also an expansion of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, one should conclusively worship the personal form of Krishna as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is eternity, bliss, and knowledge. He is the source of all forms of Vishnu. He is the source of all forms of incarnation, and he is the original Supreme Personality, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita. In the Vedic literature, it is stated that the Supreme Absolute Truth is a person. His name is Krishna, and he sometimes descends on this earth. Similarly, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there is a description of all kinds of incarnations of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And there it is said that Krishna is not an incarnation of God, but is the original Supreme Personality of Godhead himself. Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. Similarly, in the Bhagavad Gita, the Lord says, Mata Parataram Nanyat. There is nothing superior to my form as the personality of Godhead Krishna. He also says elsewhere in the Bhagavad Gita, Aham Adir Hi Devanam. I am the origin of all the demigods. And after understanding Bhagavad Gita from Krishna, Arjuna also confirms this in the following words: Param Brahma Param Dhamma Pavitram Paramam Bhavin. I now fully understand that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Absolute Truth, and that you are the refuge of everything. Therefore, the universal form which Krishna showed to Arjuna is not the original form of God. The original is the Krishna form. The universal form, with its thousands and thousands of heads and hands, is manifest just to draw the attention of those who have no love for God. It is not God's original form. The universal form is not attractive to pure devotees who are in love with the Lord in different transcendental relationships. The Supreme Godhead exchanges transcendental love in his original form of Krishna. Therefore, to Arjuna, who was so intimately related with Krishna in friendship, this form of the universal manifestation was not pleasing. Rather, it was fearful. Arjuna, who is a constant companion of Krishna's, must have had transcendental eyes. He was not an ordinary man. Therefore, he was not captivated by the universal form. This form may seem wonderful to persons who are involved in elevating themselves by fruitive activities, but to persons who are engaged in devotional service, the two-handed form of Krishna is the most dear.
Do we want to pause here? I think.
Well, here's the deal. There's one more sloka with a long purport before we get to chapter 12. So we could finish 11 today or pause. Your choice.
I'm indifferent. I'm okay waiting to start 12. It seems like that last one is pretty long, but if you want to read today, I'm totally fine if we want to close out the
Let's do it tomorrow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I feel like we're going to go over.
Works for me. And I have I do not understand what this emphasis is on the various forms of Krishna. I do not get it. I do not. I understand the statement that if you're a pure devotee, and somewhat already elevated, you don't care about seeing that great, terrifying beauty and power, 1,000 heads, 1,000 hands, etc. thing. It doesn't reach you because you're already beyond that. And I think that huge, terrifying appearance is meant to create shock and awe to everybody else. At least that's how I read it. But what is this emphasis on the, two arms in the form? I do not get it.
Yeah, we've been talking about it for a week, it feels like.
because I'm taking the Bhakti course, so I'm excited when they get to this chapter. This whole chapter has been just intense, but this part with the different forms, I'm curious to see what they say too. And I'm also feeling today, Sue, thank you so much for reading. I feel like I go back and forth between thinking like I'm being now all of a sudden my mind is like, you're telling me I can't believe in Krishna. So now all of a sudden I'm like, no, I believe in Krishna. You know, it's like, it's telling me that I'm not allowed to believe in Krishna because I'm not learning it in a specific way. So my like American New York mind is like, don't tell me something I can't do because now I'm going to do it. So now I feel like I'm reverse psychology being brainwashed into.
Well, when they were saying you can't understand it without blah, 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 I'm like, I understand it. What are you talking about?
And then Sue, to your point, it's like I can see Krishna in all its forms too. Like you can keep telling me all the different forms and I can see it. So like I don't know, maybe they're just tricking us.
Maybe they're just tricking us.
I don't truly believe that, but
I have a feeling there was some kind of almost political thing going on between different sects or different ways of looking at Krishna, and that this was, to me, this reads like a direct attack about all those people who were wrong, you know.
Well, the four-handed form of Krishna is called Narayana, right? That's the incarnation of Krishna then. Are they now saying the two-handed form of Krishna is the true Krishna? Is the Krishna that's not the incarnation of God? So I think for me, I have to look at it like we've learned of a lot of incarnations of Krishna. He shows up with different names in different ways. So the four-handed form isn't Krishna, that's Narayana. And then it sounds to me like they're saying the two-handed form, like some, like what you're saying, Sue, like some people do say that Krishna, I think at one point they said is an incarnation of God, but it's not. He's the supreme personality of Godhead. I guess I'd have to reread the part with the parents. The parents confuse me, like, because if he's like bigger than everything, he shouldn't even have parents, really. So
well, but Jesus Christ had parents. I mean, you know, in a lot of the traditions, God, capital G, had was incarnated as a human being, and all humans have parents.
Yeah.
Of some sort. So
yeah, so I can see I guess I can see an incarnation of Krishna having parents, but how does Krishna have Krishna not in material form, to me, wouldn't have parents because he's the beginning of everything. So like I could see Krishna, I guess the universal form of Krishna that they're talking about not having parents, but then like this material form of Krishna having like a regular human story with these are my parents and this is my material body and this is the one people can see, but this other universal form of Krishna, or not universal form, but I think they're calling it the original Krishna form.
well, you know, it depends what you mean by original. Because since there is no time, if original means the one that came first, then that's just in our puny little brains, because that's all we can handle. So that's when he goes from four-handed to two-handed.
Yeah, and maybe because we didn't finish the last sloka, maybe that sloka will help us close out the chapter and the different forms.
Probably not.
Yeah, probably not.
I have to say, this particular thing with the forearms and two arms reminds me of poor Patrick Ewing, that wonderful Knicks player who never did manage to get the championship ring. Don't ask me why. And Patrick Ewing was pretty impressive physically. Did you guys ever see him play?
No.
He was a brick you know what house. I mean, he was huge and he was so talented that he could move his body around like that. Maybe he had 4 arms. He was one with Krishna. We just didn't see the other two. Too bad he missed that layup. Oh, well. The other thing I think of is that, you know, in addition to maybe this is some kind of response to other sects that were out there, is that this is almost like a cartoon, painting a cartoon picture of Krishna. I can see this as a graphic novel, you know, this section.
I thought that too. It became like so fiction, not in a bad way, but it became almost like a kid's storybook today while we were reading.
Yeah, and if the language was changed a little bit, it would be a great kid's storybook.
I think they have kids' versions of this.
Oh, I'm sure they do. Just like they've got kids' version of Bibles, right?
Yeah. I should probably, I think I have one saved in my Amazon cart, but when I was trying to read poetry, I had to get some kids' books poetry out because that's where I needed to start.
Not a bad place to start. I'm with you 100%.
Yeah. And I was like super impressed. It was like a young adult. It wasn't like a little kid, you know, it was like probably like a middle school. Yeah. And I think that there is an intention behind the 2-armed form because I just quickly Googled it, but there's too much information out there. It looks like it's in the Srimad Bhagavatam more. So like there is definitely something behind it that we just don't know. Like there is definitely a purpose behind it.
But that's a good assignment for tomorrow. I'm gonna Google the 2-armed versus 4-armed and see what pops up.
Yeah, and when we get to it, I mean, we're only on the 2nd week today, so but when we get to it, I can come back and let you know what they tell me in this course.
Oh yeah, that'll be very interesting.
What is that, one night a week?
Yeah, it's Tuesdays at 4.
Is it helpful?
I can't hear you.
She wants to know if it's helpful.
Oh, yeah, I thought last week was like an introductory week, and I thought it was pretty helpful setting up the Gita. Of course, I didn't get the book yet, so I didn't do the assigned reading. But I'm almost feeling happy I didn't do the assigned reading because very rarely do I not do my homework. So I'm excited to show up today.
Yes, yes.
But I'll read for next week.
Yeah.
So I feel like I'll sort of know because we've already just read through the chapters. But
speaking of reading and understanding, I started reading the Yoga Sutras again. You know, the first book we read. What a difference in having read the other stuff. It is like a different book for me.
It becomes more applicable too because now you know it and then you can apply it. And like it becomes definitely more understanding, right?
Well, you sort of feel like you read it at a different level, which is very exciting in some ways. I do not feel like I know it at all. I feel, and it's interesting because every once in, you know, I'm reading it slowly. So I will read a sutra and all of a sudden there'll be recognition there. And then I'll realize I don't know what the hell I'm reading and I have to read it again. So it's an interesting process.
It allows you to move slower and at your own pace so you can stop and like Google things or research. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I have my book out. It was on the shelf for a while and it stayed there, but lately I've been pulling it out and just like randomly finding. So it's not like a consecutive thing. But yeah, it made me happy to look at it.
Is that the book that I joined at the end on? The Hatha Yoga or something?
No.
No. It's this one.
So this one's basically it's considered, I think, the first book of yoga, but it is, people call it like the Yoga Bible.
Yeah, this is the first book I ever got after coming to the studio.
Yeah, when I first got it, I I didn't know about yoga philosophy when I signed up for teacher training. I thought teacher training would just be like physical. I didn't know about all the other parts of yoga. So that book came to my house and I was like, what is this scary book? Because there's all Sanskrit in it. It looks like the Bhagavad Gita, the way it's like Sanskrit and then translation.
Scary book.
I kind of threw it under the bed because I was like, I'm kind of scared of this book.
If I hide it, I can pretend it's not there.
Yeah, like I don't know about this book.
Yeah.
But now I love it, and it makes sense. All right, so let's do some breath and meditate.
Okay, I might sign out early because of some stuff going on, but I will see you guys tomorrow, okay?
Yeah.
Have a good dinner tonight.
Oh, thank you. I'll be the only Mother's Day dinner person there. All right, see you guys. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Do some breath work. I love where you're sitting. You look like the house across the street from you looks like a princess castle with that.
It does. I know. It's a good view.
Yeah.
It's better than the view of my house.
I'm sure your house looks just as nice.
Nope. It's like a box.
I know. My neighbors across the street, she does such a beautiful job with her garden in the front, which makes for my view beautiful. But I feel bad when she has to like look over here at my house. I'm like, Eric, can you go mow the lawn? We're embarrassing the neighbors.
Yeah, exactly. That's me.
Yeah. I managed to kill my one indoor plant this year and a succulent plant so far. So that's where I am at.
Yeah, I don't understand plants very well. I killed plants last year too that I newly purchased. So
Ugh.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's a whole nother series of books that we'll have to read.
Yeah, to learn how to do it.
Yeah.
It's one of those things I don't want to learn how to do it. I just want to just plant it and let it grow, but it's not working. My little garden grows and that makes me happy.
That's good.
Yeah, my like little basils and mint. The mints I've killed too. It's impossible to kill mints and I somehow do it. But my mint came back this year, so excited.
Mints are like a weed.
Yeah, I know. I still managed to kill them.
It must be it's something you're not doing. It must be the soil or something. Who knows?
I don't know, but they came back this year already, so I'm very
That's good.
Yeah. All right. Oh. Okay.
That's so funny.
I'll sit up nice and tall, take a few breaths in through the nose. Hi, Sprinkles.
She's meditating already.
She looks very calm.
Yeah.
Oh, wait. Kramer had me up in the night to go out, but now I'm noticing his belly. Every once in a while, I notice it pumping again, like he did that Saturday to me. But I just pulled the covers off of him because maybe he's warm. But my eye on him.
Like deep breathing?
Yeah. Like it's super rapid. Kramer. See his breathing? Can you tell?
Oh.
Do you see his belly pumping?
Yeah, I see it. Maybe is he having a nightmare, maybe?
I don't know. I'm gonna wake him up and put him outside. Give him some water.
Yeah.
He's done this a few times since he's been home, but once I like wake him up or oh boy. All right, let's do some breath work and then I'll deal with him.
Okay.
In through the nose, out through the nose. Deep breath in, fill up the low belly. Exhale, let all the air out. And bring your right hand over to your nose, close the right nostril with the thumb, inhale through the left. Close left, exhale right. Inhale right. Close right, exhale left. Inhale left. Close left, exhale right. Inhale right. Close right, exhale left. Inhale left. Close left, exhale right. Inhale right. Close right, exhale left. You can continue on a few more rounds, or you can release your palm. I'm going to set the timer for our 20 minutes, and you'll join us when you're ready in our meditation.
Is he okay?
Bring your hands to heart center. Namaste.